Hi Fixer family, it's Charmin, and today is project number 3 in my front entryway makeover. I'm so excited to bring this project to you today. Now I have a few little things left to do to the front entryway before I bring the big reveal, or should I say the mini reveal, and that will be next Friday. I will be revealing the entire front porch area, and I'm excited about that. And also today you will see a little sneak peek of what the front door looks like. So let's go ahead, get started on this project for today. Welcome to Fixin' 2. Here are the items that you're going to need for this project. We're going to be using some lamb's ear that I picked up at Walmart. It's a garland. We're also going to be using some leftover lavender that I had from a previous project. Also some leftover buffalo check ribbon. We're also going to be using a piece of this nautical rope for our hanger. And of course our endless supply here of our Rust-Oleum decorative glaze in the color Java. I'm going to be using Waverly chalk paint in the colors black and white, some paint brushes, and this wood round, which is about 15 inches across. I picked this up at Home Depot. I'm not 100% sure exactly how much they are. They're around like $7 or so when I picked this up. And I also created a stencil on my silhouette. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the first step you want to do is, of course, sand your wood round. Now it's usually comes pretty smooth, but you want to make sure that there's no imperfections in there, no anything raised or what have you. And I'm using a 240 grit sandpaper, and I'm going over the entire surface, going with the grain of wood, and of course around all of the edges. I'm also going to go ahead and do the back as well because I like a finished piece, and so I'm going to stain the back of this as well. Now it had a sticker on it, so I worked at getting that off, and of course sanding and making sure everything is nice and wiped off. Now if you guys don't know what this is, you can get it from Home Depot or Lowe's, and it is just this little tool that helps you to open any of your paint cans, stain cans, or anything like that. And I absolutely love it. I have a couple of these that I keep close by. So now we're just going to take our sponge brush and just begin to stain this wood. Now I'm sorry I'm out of the frame here a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that I could see all the way around the edges because it's a bit porous around the sides, and I wanted to get the stain in all of those areas really well. And then once I flip it back over to the front, I'm just going to go in and put a lot of stain on here, and going with the grain of the wood just like you do when you sand. And once I get it all on there, then I'm just going to take a paper towel and get off all of the excess. And then of course turn it over and stain the back exactly the same. Like I said, I like a finished piece. Once we get it all stained, I am going to let this dry overnight because I want a really super dry piece. The next step in the process here, after it is completely dry, and of course you see it is kind of lightened up just a little bit, but I still love this color. We're going to make about a 6-inch wide stripe across, probably like about the bottom third. I'm going to leave a little bit at the very bottom, and the rest at the top. And it has, of course, natural lines in it where the piece of wood was, sandwiched together when they made these. And you can see the line that will make it super easy to get a straight line with your tape. Now we're taping this off with some painter's tape, and I'm going to run my finger across the edge that's going to be painted against to try to make a really good seal on this. And I also use my little scraper tool as well, because I don't want any bleeding. But that's one step that I take. Then of course the second step that I'm going to take is I'm going to put a kind of a light coat of Mod Podge over this section. I'm just checking to make sure that my stencil is where I want it. And I'm going to take my Mod Podge, and again, like I said, putting a light coat on here, that also gives you a little bit more security on the paint not bleeding underneath the tape. And it's a really great technique and works out real well. But there are times, and I'm going to show you where it doesn't. And I don't know if it was the Mod Podge, but I'll show you that here in just a minute. Now once my Mod Podge is completely dry, I'm going to take my black Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to do a really nice first coat. I wind up doing 2 coats on this just to make sure that I have a nice coverage, but it really did well with the 1 coat, but I went ahead and did 2, and as you see, I'm also doing the sides of it as well. Now in between each one I dried it really well, but right before I dried the second coat, I went ahead and pulled the tape. And guys, this was super satisfying, because as you see, when I pull it off here, I got a really nice crisp line, no bleed underneath the tape from the paint and everything, and I was super excited. But that was a little short-lived. Like I said, we'll talk about it here in just a minute. I took my hairdryer to kind of speed things up a little bit here to go ahead and get that good and dry. So now we're ready to place our stencil with our word hello. And I just peeled the backing off, and then as you'll see, I'm going to lay it on here, do a little bit of measuring, making sure that it's exactly where I wanted it. I did want it a little above and a little below the top and bottom lines. So got that put on there, got my transfer tape peeled off, and then did the same technique that I did with putting down the tape. After getting some of the bubbles out, I go in with my Mod Podge once again, and I'm creating that seal to help with the paint not bleeding. And guys, I don't know if my paint was old or if something happened with the Mod Podge on top of the chalk paint. I'm not real sure, but here in just a minute, you're going to see where I'm taking my white Waverly chalk paint and I'm beginning to stencil it on to the board. And all of this worked out just like it was supposed to. But then when I got ready to peel it off, guys, the paint began to peel. And I don't know if my paint is old or what, but if you guys have any suggestions as to what this might be, please let me know down in the description box below, because I've never had this happen before, and I've done a lot of stenciling. And as I start peeling it up on this one end, I'm not real sure what's going on, what I need to do. So I start on the opposite end that's a little bit wetter. It's not completely dry. And as you guys see, as I'm pulling it up, you will see where it starts to really peel off. But not only did it peel off the paint, it also, as it was drying, it began to do kind of like a crackling effect. And that's not really what I was going for here at all. And so I was just kind of dumbfounded about it and kind of perplexed. But what I began to do was, after it completely dried, I took my paint, a fine paintbrush. I also have a white paint pen, not technically meant for this, but it helped me. And then I took a fine black Sharpie and just spent the time fixing each of the little edges. And it was a little timely, but there was nothing that I could do other than sanding everything off and starting over, and I wasn't going to do that. So I went ahead and painted. I actually watered down my paint a little bit to help it, kind of give a more smooth effect. And I was able to get it looking nice. And I also went over it with a layer of Mod Podge over everything to seal it. So now that we've gotten through that, we're ready to put a hanger on the back of it before we put the stuff on the front. And I'm just using a piece of the nautical rope and my staple gun. And I'm just going to get it secured in there really well with the staple gun exactly where I want it. And then go in and cut off the excess rope there. And that gives you a nice, good, steady, secure hanger. Now guys, I don't know what happened to my footage here as well, but I created a two-toned bow here using the buffalo check ribbon and also some burlap ribbon, and I'll link some of the bow tutorials that I have done, and you can check those out in the iCards above and also down in the description box. So now I'm just taking my lamb's ear and I'm just kind of eyeballing about how long I want them to be, and it cuts really easy with a pair of scissors. And we'll get two of those, one for each side. And the really neat thing about working with a piece of wood like this, I used my staple gun again and stapled them to the board as well as my bow, so that they are nice and secure and I don't run the risk of them falling off with it being on the door by using just hot glue. So I'm going to put a couple of staples in it, one each at the top and one at the bottom of each side. And then I'm going to go in with a little extra lamb's ear because there was one side that kind of looked a little sparse, like it didn't have enough leaves on it. So I am going to use a little bit of hot glue to glue it to the actual lamb's ear stems so that it looks a little bit more full. So we'll go ahead, drop some hot glue in there and get a couple of pieces in there to fill it in. Once I got the lamb's ear like I wanted it, then I just went and cut a few of these lavender sprigs and kind of tucked them in there just to give it a little pop of spring, a little pop of summer, and some color, and then just glued those to the lamb's ear as well. And once you get that in there, then we're ready to just dovetail our little tails that we have here, just to kind of bring them up to exactly where I wanted them to fall and finish it all up and make it look super pretty and super easy once you got everything working right for you project for my front entryway. I'm so in love with this awesome door hanger, and this has so much potential to be whatever you would like for it to be. Now I know back in the fall I created another door round using a pizza pan from the Dollar Tree. I'll make sure that I link it in the iCards above for you. It'll be a little bit less expensive, even though this is not that expensive when you really look at some of the stuff that I already had. Again, I believe the wood round was around $7. And then of course having the paint and being able to create the stencil using contact paper, just the different things that I already had on hand. So it really did wound up not costing a whole lot. So I'm so glad that you guys joined me today. And if this is the first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Make sure that you consider sticking around and becoming a part of the Fixer family by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it so that you're notified each time I upload new videos. I upload videos every Friday and would hate for you guys to miss a single one. Know that you guys are absolutely amazing, and always remember to keep looking up because that's where it all is. I'll see you on the next video.